Hello, on today's episode of the Leadmore Podcast, we sit down with my friend Chris Pieta. Figured it's 2024, it's January, it's that time of year you're thinking about goals, about habits, about becoming the new you, right? What's your life going to look like 12 months from now? We're filled with a lot of hope, a lot of optimism. I love optimism. So I brought in my friend Chris today to focus on two different models, frameworks that I think leaders need to know. So the first is from a great brand new book from Ali Abdaal. Feel Good Productivity is the name of the book. And it's called The NICE Framework. The NICE Framework is a sort of like SMART goals. If you heard of SMART goals, this is a new way to think about goals. And that's maybe a little bit more manageable, a little bit more controllable, a little bit more freeing. So listen to Chris. We break down what is the NICE of NICE goals. And we follow that up with actually how I met Chris. Chris and I we are both coaches, but you'll also hear you'll hear a model we learned from our coach, Dan Martell, called the 5 daily non-negotiables. These are daily habits, 5 things that he and I do every day. Recording this here on the 8th of January. We're 8 for 8, but we are going to be 366 for 366 this year. And we talk about that. What are those 5 things? How do you build those habits so that by putting in the work every single day, you naturally will hit the outcomes, the objectives, the goals, the results that you want by the end of the year. You put in the daily work that you can control, and the outcomes will come. So today's episode of the Leadmore Podcast, you will hear from Chris Pieta. Chris is an entrepreneur. He's a photographer, and he's a coach and consultant. He helps other photographers and creative business owners grow their businesses. So with that, here on the Leadmore Podcast, helping create more leaders for tomorrow by learning the lessons and frameworks and models from today's leaders is Chris Pieta. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of the Leadmore Podcast. I'm super excited to be here with my buddy, Chris Pieta. Chris is a photographer. He's a creative content producer. He educates other creative entrepreneurs and helps them grow through coaching and content. So happy to have you on the show. How you been, Chris?
Hey, John. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. Happy New Year, 2024.
Yeah, 2024 is here, and that's a perfect segue because that's what we're talking about. I will briefly say, I met Chris maybe May, June of last year. We are both over here's the book, Buy Back Your Time. We're both buddies and in the same group coaching program with Dan Martell, and we both are, every good coach has a coach themselves. We both help coach entrepreneurs and met through our own coaching program. And I've just really enjoyed watching you grow over the last year, Chris. I mean, I know you were doing a lot of this stuff prior, but since I've known you, I just feel like you're really seeing it's like the activities and the habits precede the outcomes and the results, but like you've been doing the daily work. And I feel like from what I see, I don't know what you think, but I feel like the results, you're starting to yield those results.
Yeah, that's how it's felt the past year or so. I started posting this educational content like 2021, 2022. And it's been like a really slow climb. And then really last year, it kind of felt like an overnight success, everything kind of clicking together and a lot of the content just taking off. And it was like, one, just me learning how to produce better content to teach people in a better way. And like 2, just people seeing this like backlog of content, knowing that I'm the real deal here. So it's been really awesome to see a lot of people getting results from like the content I've been sharing and it reaching a lot more eyeballs.
That's great. That's great. And give us the elevator pitch. Tell me about your business if someone's listening.
Yeah, so I work with photographers, videographers, and designers that are doing under $200K a year. I help them start and grow their businesses through a self-paced program, plus group coaching, plus a Discord community. The whole thing. I pitch it as like a complete system to start your business from zero and really grow it past 6 figures. So that's the core of what I do. I also run a photography company on the side. That used to be my main business, but now I just enjoy helping people more. So that's kind of taken over, but I still work with some product photography clients to deliver them assets for their websites.
That's great. Love it. Started just creating content because you enjoyed that, kept grinding, and like literally the business is flipped, right? Like the coaching, content, education past your photography, but that's who you coach for. So it makes sense that you are that person. So we talked about 2024. We talked about goals. This is a perfect segue. Actually, to a little bit of context story, what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about NICE goals, but I think it's applicable to this story of how you started creating content, specifically on YouTube. So you want to tell us the story of what got you started on YouTube, and because that'll segue into what we're going to talk about.
Sure. Wow, this is a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked in this way. So I was running my photography company for a couple of years, or maybe a year or so, and I've always wanted to start posting videos online, but never really had anything to really post about. When I was starting my company and running it, I had some experience actually getting clients, and it seemed like a lot of people in my industry struggled with that. So I started creating YouTube videos around how to get photography clients, how to generate revenue consistently, just basic how to use your camera stuff too. So all over the place. And what actually um, got me on that path was this one YouTuber, Ali Abdaal. Back in 2020, I took his course on how to edit YouTube videos. So I took that course, edited some videos, and they sat on my hard drive for like 3 or 4 months. And then January like 2021 came along, and I was like, okay, if there's no good time to start, so I'm just going to hit publish that first video, and then continued posting weekly videos for over 2 years on that channel. Still posting stuff on there.
Still are today, yeah.
But that's
like 3 years in,
that's
right?
been yeah, it's crazy how fast that time has gone. But yeah, that's a nice segue to what we're going to talk about, because the NICE goals is a framework that Ali talks about in his book that just came out, and everything's like kind of come full circle here.
Yeah, show us the book. I know you said before when we were talking that like you had never felt like something perfectly described what you were already doing, right? Like, so Ali puts it in a great framework, but you've been practicing this idea of NICE goals. So Leadmore here on the podcast, we try to deconstruct the lessons and the actions of some of the world's greatest leaders so that all leaders can take these ideas and adopt this content. So today we're going to talk about this idea of NICE goals, and Chris, who totally practices what he preaches, is going to break it down for us. So let's start with it.
Yeah, for sure. So before I had like my photography company, I was working in like corporate America, and then there, like the SMART goal system is like what everyone was like teaching me. And when I tried applying that to like my own like personal stuff and like my entrepreneurial stuff, I never really found that much success in it, because it really focused on what the outcome was rather than like what the inputs are and what like you can control. So I always wanted to like focus on the controllables, because at the end of the day, if I did the actions that would get the outcome, then I would feel accomplished.
Yes.
More so than like having this big goal that I probably won't accomplish for like 3 months, 6 months, multiple years. It was discouraging not seeing progress. So I wanted some way to constantly see progress every day, every week, that I'm actually moving towards those goals. So it was all like input based. I was judging myself on like, what inputs did I do that day? Did I move the needle forward? Did I do the right actions? So I was kind of like divorced from the outcome completely. It was just focused on those inputs. And the NICE goal system kind of like breaks that down perfectly. Like, cool. I never had an acronym for that, but Ali Abdaal in the book just made this amazing. I think it's his. I'm not completely sure.
It's a good reminder in coaching.
One
thing I've learned is half the battle is just like how you package it, right? Like how you give it a name, give it a model, give it a framework, give it a trademark, right? It's just acronyms, all those things. So that's okay. We'll give credit to Ali, but know that you've been working on it and doing it. So
yeah, it was great to see like someone actually package it, because this made like, wow, this is like what I've been doing. Someone else does this too. That's great. So do you want me to break down what like NICE stands for?
Let's do it.
Awesome.
What's the N?
So N is near term. So Ali says to focus on what you can control, like this today, this week, this month. So things in the near term, so that you see progress every day, every week, every month. So you stay focused on the goals and personally like know that you're able to achieve them because you see some sort of progress.
Sorry, that reminds me of another really good book I like. Have you read The One Thing? It's the
same
idea. It's like, what's the one thing I can do today? What's the one thing I can do this week? The one thing I can do this month? And so that's perfect. Love it.
Love it.
Near term.
All right. And then we got near term. The I stands for input based. So that's kind of what I was talking about there. So what are the controllables? What actions can you take that will actually drive you towards this goal? So if your goal is to lose weight, it wouldn't be lose 10 pounds. It would be exercise for 30 minutes every day. So that's kind of what input based means. And you can apply that to anything. If you're trying to get clients, that might be doing more outreach or posting content. And then I know we're going to get into some of our daily habits that really
talk to me about how specific do you get on your input based when you're breaking them down? So like the 30 minutes example.
Yeah, I do get pretty specific like that. So if I have a goal to create content or grow my Instagram, it's going to be post one piece of content a day at least, and then post 3 times to my story. So it's very like quantifiable to see if I hit it or not. Because for me, if it's like if I'm not judging based on some sort of scorecard, then I don't know,
Yep.
I might be too easy or too hard on myself at the end of the day. But if it's like a number, then
Yep.
it's just a checkbox. It's black or white then.
Yeah, red or green, stop like that. Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
the input base speaks to me so much from my time running an agency for a decade and now coaching agency founders, especially with sales. I always said, like, you can't control if client X had their budget cut, or you can't control if client Y said, well, I need to get this. We can do this in Q2, but not Q1. But you can control, like, did you reach out? Did you make the phone calls? Did you send the emails? Like, are you doing the activities that lead to the results? Because we can't control other companies or the economy or, just these big macro things that are so out of our control.
Yeah, that's a great example right there, because if we're like solely focused on the outcome, the actions that we do today might not really bear fruit for like
Yes.
months or years. Like I've had an outreach where like I sent an email and then didn't hear anything for like a year. And then it was like a cold email. And then they came back and they were like, hey, we want to do photos. What
Cool.
can we do? And then landed that client after something that I did a year ago, which is wild.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway there is, like, unfortunately, is how often people quit before those results hit, right? Like, you posted videos every week for multiple years. My guess is for the first year, you felt like you were just banging your head against the wall and like, was this worth it? Hopefully you enjoyed it and you were doing the inputs. But it's that not only the library and archive of content, but I'm guessing you got better every week so that now when people find your content 3 years in, it's great, right?
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, you both like improve over time and then you plant the seeds and they grow over time too.
Cool. Let's do C.
Yeah, C kind of ties into input based too. C is controllable. So that's mainly, are your inputs realistic? So you don't want to make some sort of unrealistic goal that you're not going to hit. You want something that's pretty controllable. So if your, again, goal is to lose weight, or you're not going to say, I'm going to work out 2 hours every day for the next month, because that's not realistic. You want something that you can actually, it's a bit of a challenge to achieve each day, but it's definitely achievable if you commit to it. Something like that.
Yeah. A guy I follow, I really like, Mike, I think it's Karjanapakorn. He was the founder of Skillshare, and he's adopting this. His goal for 2024 is to develop a new habit each month. Kind of this idea of like stacking these habits. So for January, it's just one habit he's really trying to focus, hoping that by February, that January habit is now like routine, right? Yeah. And so you would never say, I'm going to adopt 12 new habits in January, but you could do one a month, and so it's this idea of realistic, controllable. I kind of think of that as like crawl before you walk, before you run.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. E.
Right. Yeah, C was an easy one. Ollie's E is energizing. So this actually isn't something that I was doing, but after reading through the book, it's really helped me think of inputs like differently. So his whole thing is, the book is called Feel Good Productivity. So the E stands for like energizing. You want to be doing things that help you stay more productive. So in the book, he talks about play. So making your work feel like play. So maybe that's like jamming out to some music while you're working, or doing something that makes it more fun, or doing like some random like side project that you've been looking forward to, but isn't the main work, but still kind of moves the needle forward.
That's like his quest, right? It's the quest idea.
Yeah, he talks about that. Then he talks about power, which is like pretty much how in control are you of the work? Is it something that you're doing for yourself? Is it something that you're doing for a client? Like the more you feel like you're in control of the work, the more you want to do it. No one likes to be micromanaged. So if you can make work more your own, then it feels easier to do. And then the last one he talks about is people. So like surrounding yourself with a group of people that are either on the same path as you. So like for us, that's our coaching program that we're in with Dan. Like everyone's on a very similar journey. So we can see the wins that people are getting, the actions they're doing, and it motivates us to do the same thing. So I think people is my favorite one of that, like being in some sort of coaching group or some sort of like community, accountability where everyone's like going through the same thing, and it's not like competitive. It's a big pie and everyone's eating from it. It's not like I'm competing against you. It's like we're doing this together.
Yeah, and I always think that's staggering of people too. Like someone who's been there maybe a little bit further ahead of you, whether it be by time or by revenue or age, and then conversely, maybe someone a couple legs behind that you can teach, right? Like you learn
Mhm.
the most by teaching. So I'm curious, what would you say? I think you're a little further ahead of me on the book. It's a brand new book, just came out.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things that people, I coach a lot of founders, entrepreneurs, but if someone's listening to this, a leader wants to adopt this mentality, um, what if they don't maybe fully control their day or their week or their schedule? They have a job description, they have a job.
Mhm.
How do you apply that framework? If like how much can you control? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, Depending on like the work environment, but a lot of the time, if the if you're getting tasks that are like a general like project description of like we have to accomplish this thing by this timeline, then in that situation, yes, you have a project that's been assigned to you, but you're still in control of like the steps to execute the vision. So I think in like the best companies, the leaders will always like give a lot of autonomy to their employees. So in
Yes.
those situations, it's you're doing your own problem solving for that kind of thing, and you're able to still have like autonomy in the project and make it your own, even though it's for you're being assigned this thing. Same with like
Hmm.
client work, honestly. Like when we work with clients, like a lot of the time clients have this end goal they want to reach, but then we're the ones in control of the steps to get to that end goal.
Yep. Yeah, and I would add to that, like, document your inputs, like that like if you're like show the like eventually the answer is if you get the results, hopefully your boss will just let you have the autonomy. Because if you're saying,
Hmm.
hey, I brought in 5 million in sales, like let me do my thing. But maybe you don't have the 5 million in sales yet, like document the inputs. So you can say,
Hmm.
look, every day I'm doing this, I'm showing up, I'm putting in the work, making the calls, creating the content, writing the emails,
Hmm.
the results will come, right? And I think the more you prove, you don't have that boss who's micromanaging or wondering what's Chris doing today, is he getting his stuff done,
Hmm.
right? So okay.
Yeah. And that's a framework I've also adopted like with my own team because before reading like Dan's book and being part of this coaching program, I was pretty hands on with a lot of the tasks I had like my team doing. But since reading the book, I'm pretty hands off now. I'll say like, this is the goal. I trust you. You've done great work these past few years working with me. Just go execute. And I've like that's helped take a lot off my plate with like delegating, and two, it's given my team a lot more autonomy and probably more enjoyment of the actual work itself. So that's one way I've grown in like the last year too.
That's right. You grow the team and the team grows the company. And how have you either, I mean, maybe you've implemented this in your coaching or maybe it's yourself. How have you seen this shift? Like you said, you've been doing this for a long time before you kind of learned this wrapper or this acronym,
Hmm.
but how have you seen this kind of input based focus maybe sort of set you free or sort of relieve some of the pressure? Like maybe if you're not getting the results, your October didn't look like the way you wanted
Hmm.
it to be, but you knew in your heart that you were like doing the work.
Yeah, like for me, like I judge myself like on the inputs regardless of the outcome. Sure, I have like goals that I want to reach, like external goals, but for me, those are just like a bonus of actually doing the work because I know like if I take these actions, I eventually will get there. Because when I set these goals, they're not just like random goals; they're like based on like other results I've seen from other people who have done similar things. So if someone who's few steps ahead of me in a similar position as me doing these inputs, then I could just do the same thing. And in theory, I would get to the same level. So if I can control what I'm doing every day and someone else has already done this, then it makes sense to me that I would also get there just by doing the controllables.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. We were DMing about sort of goals for the year, and this idea will segue into this other model we want to talk about called 5 daily non-negotiables. And I think we both were
Hmm.
talking about like, what if you could do the daily non-negotiables for 5 years in a row? Like say 15, I guess that'd be like almost 1800 days,
Yeah.
1800 days of doing like five things every day. It sounds like wildly like difficult, but
Hmm.
also imagine we don't even need to quantify the success because you just know if you did the work every day, it would be there. Right.
Yeah.
So this is a concept that we both follow and sort of are kind of holding each other accountable for, which is great. So we're going to break down this negotiable or this framework as well, the 5 daily
Hmm.
non-negotiables. This is something that our coach Dan taught. So I'll let you start it, but it's basically this idea. I think it sort of hits all the buckets of business in terms of sales, marketing, operations, sort of development, investment, improvement type of idea. So tell us
Mhm.
what you're doing on a daily basis in 2024.
Yeah. So these are 5 daily habits that just have to get done no matter what every single day. And we've committed to doing them every day for this year. Number one, I guess, is work out every day. So that's one I've been loving, just having some consistency in the workouts, just showing up every day. It's not really a choice. It's just something that has to happen. So it becomes like part of your identity. So that's like building up the entrepreneur, building up like your energy levels, building up your
Yes.
fitness, which ties directly to like how successful your company will be. Because if you show up with a lot of energy every day, you're in good shape, that's going to translate to the work that you do.
Yeah, and you'll just be in the game longer, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a goal, like an age date. I want to retire. Like, I just want to. It's the idea that Peter Attia book. It's not about how long you live.
Hmm.
It's about how the quality of your years, right? The
Hmm.
longevity. I saw a great line from Shane Parrish. He's the author and writer of like Farnham Street. That blog
Hmm.
does a lot of like mental models. And he talked about someone asked him like, "What's your workout routine? Like, do you how many days do you do cardio or strength, or how many days a week, or what are your plans?" He's like, "Oh, that's easy. I just work out every day."
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like,
Hmm.
it's, very much like identity based. So like, you don't even
Hmm.
have to think about it as much. It's just like, if you do 30 minutes, 45 minutes of exercise every day, you're going
Hmm.
to generally be healthy. Like at this point in my age, I'm not trying to like qualify for the Boston Marathon or the Olympics, but I just want to feel good, look good,
Yeah.
be good. And so that's that idea of
Yeah.
just that you simplify it if you just have to do it every day.
Yeah, exactly. And it also helps with like for me, I've changed. My workout approach used to be like really intense, like bursts of workouts and then like lulls in it. Now it's more like very consistent, like things I can actually do every single day versus like a 2 hour workout one day. I'm super sore the next day, go on a long run, super sore. Now it's more like you mentioned, longevity, just things that will energize me throughout the day and allow me to work out every single day. So it's like a 2-part thing there. It's like a bonus of the actual non-negotiable there.
Yeah. And really plugs into that nice framework, right? It's like,
Hmm.
do the things that you can control, focus on the input. The health is sort of the output that just naturally happens.
Hmm.
All right, so that's the first one.
All right. Number 2, let's go with the 5 opens. So sending a message every day to some sort of lead, a prospect that you think you can help with whatever service you're providing, opening the conversation, seeing if there's a fit. Not necessarily like trying to sell them hard, just like telling them like what you do, see what line of work they're in, and see if there's any way that you guys can work together in the future. And doing 5 of those every single day just creates so many potential business opportunities throughout the year. Because like what 5 times, that's like 1,700 potential
Mm-hmm.
like leads if you do it every single day for the year, which is a lot of business.
Yep, and an open is simply defined as like you're opening a conversation, you're sending a message, you're saying, "Hey, what's up? Thanks for the follow. Are you looking to hire a business coach?" Or, "Hey, are you looking to
Hmm.
grow your photography business?" And you have a fantastic story of this. You created you create a lot of content, but you had a reel go quite viral, over 1 million views, I believe,
Hmm.
which yielded in how many new followers?
Yeah, it was like 14,000, like a crazy amount. And I'm still going through my
So
VA,
you
still
have
opening a
enough
lot of those. I'm
you
still
have
messaging a
five
lot.
opens for a couple of years if you needed them.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
like 200 a day now, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So much more than five. I think you're set to go on your 5 opens. But the
Hmm.
idea, if you're listening and you're trying to build a business, is like start simple. Start with the people that are following you. Go to your LinkedIn, go to your Instagram DMs. I mean, these are just, we're not overcomplicating these. These aren't like scheduled sales calls. These aren't like book on my Calendly. It's just, "Hey, Chris, I saw you followed me. Thanks for the follow. Like, have you ever thought about hiring a coach, or do
Hmm.
you have a coach?" Or, these type of messages. That's the 5 opens. It's simple, but
Yeah.
imagine, even if, all 5 today say no, every day you're putting 5 leads into that CRM.
Yeah. It's a great one too. And it also helps the content that you post every day do better because people will see you pop into their inbox. No one does that. So if they see someone that's in their inbox, they're more likely to actually watch your content, get
Mm-hmm.
more involved in that. So your organic content is playing a role here too, which we can get into the next one, which is
Perfect segue. Yeah.
posting to your stories or some sort of platform 3 times a day, just behind the scenes of what you're doing throughout the day, posting about the standard you're following, the habits you do that have led you to your success. Just 3 stories every single day, simple, just documenting what you're doing.
Yep, absolutely. I like to think of these two together sort of as like sales and marketing. So if creating the content is marketing, then opening is the sales. And I kind of think of it as like a bear to honey, right? Like you're creating content, you're putting out the honey, you're saying, here's what I'm doing, here's my habits. I think ultimately, especially in our businesses, we're coaches. Like you want to hire a coach who's maybe been to where you're trying to get to, or hire a coach who's working on the same things you're working on, like in your case. So they see you like, oh, here's how he's built his great photography business. I want that too. That's the honey. The DM comes in and sort of that's the bear bringing them right to you. So I think those fit together perfectly. And I think you said the right word, document. I always teach that. I have a reel about document, don't create, right? Like if I'm guessing you don't, I mean, you're pretty scheduled content creator, but I'm guessing you don't wake up every day thinking, I got to spend an hour thinking about the 5 reels I'm going to post, right? You document the process.
Yeah, it's just what I'm doing that day. I like it because it's like you mentioned, like I have a big schedule of like content that goes out that I post, but then the stories are whatever I'm going through that day, behind the scenes work, usually my workout, anything I'm struggling with too. So it's fun to just be able to hop on there, be authentic, and share your day.
Yeah, here's a good example. We'll teach it right now, right? It's not unplanned here. I will take my story, getting live here. Let's see if this will work. Here's Chris and I. Give us a piece. All right, there we go. Chris and I on the podcast, recording with Chris behind the scenes. Whenever we post this, people will know that we did
real quick here.
Yeah, you do the same. All right, here we go.
Yeah, right there. Love it.
All right, so we got content, we got opens, we got exercise. What else?
Yeah, we got the 10 pages of nonfiction every day. So I think that's a great one. I used to be a very avid reader when I was first starting my companies because I was on the hunt to like learn everything. And then once I was kind of like, okay, I'm in like the execution mode of things, I kind of stopped reading altogether. And then this past year after joining this program, dance coaching, I started reading the 10 pages every single day. And it's been really great to just have that time in the day to kind of develop your own mind, like work on the entrepreneur. Even if it's not something you're going to implement that day, it's still something you're learning. You could even talk about what you're reading on those stories that we just mentioned. So a lot of the time, like I'll read something in the book and just talk about it on my story, piece of content right there. So it's a great way to both like level yourself up and be able to generate content from it too, honestly.
Yep. 10 pages a day. I mean, you're going to grow your mind. You're going to grow your ideas, your thought process. It helps you articulate the way you think. 10 pages a day, easily will read a book a month. So, if you're a reader who's like, would like to read, if the idea of reading 12 books in a year sounds difficult or like, man, I've never read that much. It's really 10 pages a day. I'm guessing many times when you sit down to read, you read more than 10. So it's just like building that habit, right? And not just non-negotiable every day.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a great
What's
one.
Last
one is reviewing your goals or vision 3 times a day. So that's a great one. Just whatever your long-term vision is, where you want to be in life, reviewing that, just saying in your head, saying it out loud 3 times a day, walking through whatever your goals are, just to remind yourself of what you're trying to build, who you're trying to help, what kind of life you're trying to lead. And what I like about this one is I'll often do this when I'm feeling like an afternoon energy dip or I don't feel like doing something. I'll just quickly remind myself of the actual reason why we're showing up every day. And that kind of helps me snap back to working on what's important.
And talk to me about how this looks in execution for you. Is this a whiteboard? Is it a sticky note by the bathroom? I can tell you I have a Slack bot that just like pings at 8 and noon and 4. So it's like I see it. I have to look at it just to get that notification out of the way.
Yeah. At the start, I had a reminder go off on my phone, same thing as you're doing, of like, hey, just sit down for a second and then review them. So that's a great way to do it. Right now, just doing it when I remember. So when I journal in the morning, when I journal in the evening, I always do that. And then sometime during the day, it just happens.
Yep. Perfect. Awesome. Well, there you have it. What I love about this framework, in every single word about the name, 5, right? It's manageable. You can count it on your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Daily. I joked when I first posted my workout on January 1st, I forgot that it was a leap year. So not 365, but 366 this year. And then non-negotiables. No question, right? Like, thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't been sick yet in 2024, but when I am, it might just be a 30-minute walk or whatever it is. But like, it's non-negotiable. It's happening every day. Like as we said, imagine what you'll look like on New Year's Eve, 2024.
Yeah. And it's not easy to build this system up. It takes a while to actually stick to them. I know last year there was plenty of days where I missed doing these, and my goal for this year is to just maintain my momentum all year long. Like, I don't want to go backwards. I want to design everything almost around these non-negotiables. If I'm taking a weekend trip somewhere, I want these to happen no matter what. So that's something I'm really focusing on this year.
Yep. I love that. And I think it actually provides a lot of sort of relief, I think, when it comes to setting my goals for 2024, because I think we often think more and new and added and stacking and I felt the same way. Like 2023, pretty good year for me. I felt good with my business. I felt good personally, but what I didn't want to do was lose that momentum. And there was still a lot of days that I missed, or I probably have a few bad habits I could get rid of. So it wasn't about more. It was just about discipline and continuing daily practice.
Yeah.
Any tips on, before we go, how you execute this in practice? I can say, for instance, I have, I'm using the Streaks app to kind of do my, just every day, make sure I hit the 5, check them off 8 days in. Anything calendar blocking, or what does it look like for you?
Yeah, I've got an app on my phone. Same thing, checking off each day when I complete the goals. That's definitely helps reinforce them. If you're just getting started on this kind of thing, I'm taking this from Atomic Habits, but definitely tie the 5 daily non-negotiables to something you're already doing. So maybe when you brush your teeth, you review your goals in your head, or something that you do already. Tie it to one of these things. So if you're making coffee, take a minute or two afterwards and create some sort of piece of content talking to your audience, or do the 5 opens then. Always tie these to something you're already doing to make them a lot easier to start developing. And then over time, they just kind of become part of your identity. It's it's not oh, when am I going to work out? It's oh, it's a day, so I'm working out.
Yep. That's James Clear's make it obvious, make it easy, right? If you want to eat more fruit, put the fruit out on the bowl, on the table, right? Some of those type of things. So, all right, we got the 5 daily non-negotiables: exercise daily, read 10 pages, post 3 times a day content, reach 5 opens, and review your goals multiple times a day. Give us the rundown on the NICE goals again, one more time.
Yeah. So NICE goals, we got near term, input-based, controllable, and energizing.
Awesome. So Chris, what's it look like for you? What's the vision? What am I going to see from you in December 31st when we're cheersing the bottle of champagne on a great year? What's the vision for you?
Yeah, we're going hard on organic content. So providing a lot more educational content across all social channels. So that's Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, or X. So posting very consistently on there and upping the volume, making sure we get people results through that. So I like to provide as much free value as I can. And then for those people that want to move faster, they work with me inside my program, Creative Biz Launch. So I'm really building that out this year as well to make it. I want my long-term vision is to make it the best training for creative entrepreneurs on the planet.
Cool.
We're working towards that goal. People in there are already getting great results. So we're continuously just building that program out. So I think this year there's going to be a big focus on organic content and really honing in on this coaching, this product that I'm building, and making it the best thing out there.
And if someone listening to this is that person, a creative entrepreneur under 200K, and wants to go check out your course, where do they find it?
CreativeBizLaunch.com is the website, but really the best place to look is my Instagram page. I'm Chris Pieta on there, Pieta. That's where I share stuff every single day. If you follow me, chances are I'm going to do my opens and message.
As I was going to say, here's the challenge: follow Chris, and we'll see if he DMs you back. The answer is, I'm guessing he will, but that'll be the true test.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Chris. I'm glad to have made a connection and friendship with you, and thanks for pushing me to be better every day. So we'll see you online. Take care.
Yeah, this was great, John. Thanks so much.
All right, that is today's episode of the Leadmore Podcast. Thanks so much, Chris, for coming on. Thanks for breaking down those frameworks, for giving us a plan and a roadmap for setting and creating nice goals and then building those 5 daily non-negotiable habits so we become the best versions of ourselves in 2024. Or as I like to say, just to get a little bit better every day, just better every day. 1%. So this is the Leadmore Podcast. You can find us now, not only wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, but also on YouTube here in the video format. You can find me. This is John T. Meyer _ I used to have that handle, but somehow got lost in the YouTube world. If anybody out there can help me do that, or you know how to merge YouTube handles, I will do that. But just go to YouTube, search my name, or search Leadmore Podcast, and you'll find us. As always, we'd love to have you give us a review if you like this episode. And we'll be back soon for another edition of the Leadmore Podcast. Take care and be well.